Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make an NBA jersey swap in Adobe Photoshop, so we're not wasting no time, let's get to the video. Alright, so I'm on my picture of LeBron James, and the first thing that we're going to want to do is mask out the player. Now, you can use select subject, but in this video I'm just going to use the pen tool because it's the most accurate, and I want you guys to make the most accurate jersey swaps and not rush anything in the jersey swap process. So I'm going to go through with the pen tool first and mask out my player. One thing that's kind of underrated when you're doing jersey swaps is using the hand tool, because when you're using the pen tool and you're going along, and the pen tool, you can curve it in any direction that you'd want to, but just make sure that the line that you go to next kind of leads into it. So I can't like make this line and then try to go back in. That won't make sense. Just make sure it's leading into the next point that you want to make. But the hand tool, shortcut H, you can just move around your canvas and just grab and move around your canvas with the hand tool, and then you don't have to like zoom out and try to pan across. You can just use the hand tool pretty frequently when you want to move to the next spot on your subject. Also, don't be afraid to zoom in really close, because the closer you are, the easier it's going to be to get the details. And when I go around the beard, I don't do very fine detailing around the beard, and that's because when we use the layer mask tool and we use the feather tool, we'll be able to clean the beard up pretty well. Now, once you're at the point where you have a full mask around your subject and you have the pen tool, just right click, go to make selection, and we're going to just choose new selection, okay? And from there, make sure that when you have your pen tool, you're on combine shapes, and we're going to need to get the excess shapes out of there that we don't want. You can press Q to make a preview, and you see we still have these missing areas. So once you have this selected, now you're going to do the same thing and right click, make selection, but instead of add selection or new selection, add would be if you wanted to add other parts on. We're just going to go to subtract from selection, and make sure your feather is on 0 pixels. Now I have my full mask that I want to use, so what I'm going to do from here is I'm just going to hit the layer mask icon in the bottom right corner right here with the square and circle. You guys see it zoomed in. Just hit that, and now you have your layer mask. Now the only problem that we have is we want to keep our background, so just duplicate this layer by pressing Ctrl J, and we're going to right click on this, on the layer right here, the layer mask, right click, delete this layer. I'm going to name this LeBron. I like to make a duplicate just in case, so I'll make a duplicate LeBron copy, and then I'll just color code them just so I know what's up, and I'll set this as the background, and probably put this in the group, back up, and now on this LeBron mask, I'm going to double click on the layer mask, and I'm going to go in with the feather tool and just feather out the hair. Feather tool does a pretty good job when you're on like HD photos. You might have to use some different techniques that we're not going to discuss today when you don't have HD photos for hair, but that could be for another video. So you're just going along the edges, something like that. And in terms of the stats over here, I don't really use them. I might just use a little bit of decontaminate the colors and then press OK, and that makes I set it to a new layer with layer mask, and I just set the backup in there. Okay, and then from there, now we're going to just add a background, just so when we're doing the swap we don't have any distractions. So I'm just gonna set it to like a 50% gray background, somewhere around there, like this. Okay, so the next step now is we're gonna get rid of everything that's like contruding, or whatever you want to call it, on the jersey. So like the text here, the numbers here, maybe even the stripes, but I don't know if we're gonna have to get rid of this because we're just gonna put something over it. So I might try to just be really preservative, and this will also help you speed up the process somewhat with still being neat. So what we're gonna do to get rid of the numbers and everything like that is I'm just using the polygonal lasso tool, shortcut L. If it's not on shortcut L, you have to just hold down on the side. I'll show you guys once I just make the selection. So if it's not on shortcut L, you just have to hold down on it and then select it. So hold down on the icon and then select the polygonal lasso tool. And with this, we're just making exact points right around the numbers. Like, they don't have to be exactly right around the numbers, but you want to get pretty close. And then something that will also help, because we're going to constant wear fill, is just using the lasso tool and getting rid of some of the parts that are definitely not supposed to be filled because they're already base. So we're going to do the same thing on the Lakers. Make sure that when you're using this is on combined shapes as well, just like when we were using the pen tool. And then just work your way around. Then once you have that, we're just going to press Shift F5, and this is the shortcut for constant wear fill. Shift F5. Constant wear fill, blend mode normal, opacity 100. Boom. Color adaptation, press OK. Alright. Oops. So now you have this right here, and it's pretty clean, especially when we add the Bucks text over the top, because we're doing a buck swap. You won't be able to even tell that that's there. But one thing you can do is get your healing brush, shortcut J, or it's right over here, spot healing brush, and just like smooth some of this texture out, because there's just a lot going on there. So smooth some of it out. And you can also even use your mixer brush tool and make a sample holding down Alt, and just put your flow down pretty low, but you can just get away with moving around some parts and blending some parts out. I'm gonna leave the NBA logo, or the Nike logo, and the sleeves for right now. So I brought in a reference image of Giannis Antetokounmpo, and this is just because we want to get the right jersey color. So what you're gonna do here is, there's a couple avenues you can take, but today we're just gonna use some gradient maps. So when we have LeBron right here, let's add a gradient map to him. Okay, and we're just gonna clip it to him. So now when you go on the gradient map, we're trying to get this color on his jersey. So you can set your first color, or actually before we do that, make sure when you're on the gradient map, you're on this panel right here, not the layer mask, or it's not gonna work at all. So set your first color to either a really dark green from the source, you can always use the source, or a blue, or a black, I mean. So really dark green or a black. Then for the second one, we're just gonna build our way up to the green. All right, so we worked our way up, and I just skipped forward because I didn't want you guys to just watch me try to figure out the gradient map, but I'm gonna explain it. So I started at black, actually, just because I wanted to get that really dark base. Then the middle color is really what pulls it together. See, this middle color needs to also be a dark green from the jersey. I used a selection, then I went down a little bit, and then the last one is going to be something lighter from the jersey, or just that you figure out, right? And then so once you have those colors, now you're gonna just mess around with the sliders on the gradient map. So if you slide it towards the darker color, this is actually bringing more of the lighter color in. If you slide it towards the lighter color, it's actually bringing more of the darker color in, because you see the bar has more of the dark color. And what you're gonna do from there is mess around with these diamonds as well, because these diamonds are the feathering of the color. So sometimes they don't make a big impact, and sometimes they do. Like, see, on this side it would make a bigger impact, but mess around with the feathering as well. And so gradient maps are really useful, but they can be confusing. I did drop a gradient map tutorial, but I'll drop another one. But technically, or just in terms of just figuring it out, use sample colors from the jersey that you want to swap onto. So use a reference, and then pick your colors, go from dark to light, and eventually you're gonna get there. You just got to mess around. It's never going to be a sure thing every time, and in terms of what color you want to have. So then once you do have the color that you want to have, you see I'm just gonna use my white brush, and I'm gonna paint on this color. I'm not gonna use a pencil or anything like that. I just like to use this method of painting. I feel like it fills in more of the pixels. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like it fills in more of the pixels. But you could go back to the pen tool that we used before and fill in these colors. But for right now, I'm just gonna use my pen tool, or my brush, not the pen tool. And then once I fill this in, we'll be back. Alright, so once I got my jersey colored in, let's not take any more steps before we use a displacement map, just in case. So what you're going to do to save a displacement map is just hold down Control, Alt, Shift, and E. Press those together. Then we're going to hit F5 or right click for a smart object. You guys should make a shortcut for your smart objects just so it's quicker process. Then go to File, Save As, save it on your computer, and just save it as displacement in wherever you want to. Make sure you just title it and you know what it is. Just save that, and we're gonna use these displacement maps most likely later. If not, then it's fine, but at least we have a displacement map so that we can move things around and it can look like it's conforming to the actual jersey that LeBron's wearing without a hassle. Alright, so now at this point I'm just going to be taking elements from different jerseys just that are easiest for me to take and put onto LeBron James. So now I'm going to show you guys the first method, but pretty much it's like plug and go. I'm going to use a little bit of liquify just so you guys see the liquify tool in action, and show you the first one, and then it's pretty much the same process after that to get the elements onto the jersey. So let's go ahead with the first one, and with this collar I'm just going to mask it out real quick. Alright, just gonna press Ctrl J, make a copy of it, press Ctrl C, go back on my layer, and Ctrl V. Now we have a collar in here. It's already looking pretty good. So from here I'm just gonna name it collar, and I'm going to right click, make it a smart object. And so what you're gonna do here to fit it, you could use the warp in the Ctrl T and then just warp it like this, but I think liquify is a little bit more accurate, so I'm gonna go filter, liquify. Okay, open that up, make sure show backdrop is on, be on your forward warp tool, and we're gonna pick LeBron, so name your layers, very important. And now with the forward warp tool, all I have to do is move it and fit it to where LeBron's original collar was, just like that. You can get away with a little bit of overlap just because you want to make sure you have all the pixels covered without his collar underneath, but you want to be pretty close, whatever. But in most cases, a collar is a collar. It's gonna be the same size, especially if you're in the same league. If you're going from like LeBron from the NBA to China League, it might be something different. Then you can bring your opacity up or down depending on what you want to do. Check the shape of the collar. I like to bring the opacity up once I feel like confident about it, and then I check the shape, make sure everything is getting in place. Then once I'm there, I just press OK, and there you go. Now you have your collar on there. You might want to go back and forth, make a couple tweaks or not, but there you go with the liquify tool. That's how you're going to use the liquify tool with the forward warp. And then we're going to do the same process for these collars, or these sleeves, and the Nike signs. We're going to cover those up with the white Nike sign. And then we're just going to have to work on the shorts. We're going to have to figure out something to do for the shorts, but yeah. And then I'll show you guys also how to displace and put the number on. The only thing that's going to change is you're probably going to have to, let's see, I'll probably have to flip this and then just make a copy of the logo. Actually, the logo is symmetrical, so yeah, it's just going to follow the same principle, but you're just going to have to make a layer mask on it so that when you actually put it on, it's not going to just look weird. So just make a layer mask and make it fit to the jersey. You can actually use warp here, just drop your opacity down so you can see behind and all those switch ways that you need to see. So just match it up pretty cleanly, something like so. Right, and then from there bring your opacity back up, and we're just gonna make a layer mask and push everything out. It's not supposed to be there. So same principle, just a little different. If the green was wicked off because of the picture you took it from, you could just use things like selective color or color balance to balance the green, so you have the same greens going for you in both pictures. Alright, so now for the text, what you're gonna do is just do the same thing, paste your text in, something like this, boom. But now, let's just title it first too. So what you're gonna do with the text is right click, go to blending options, and most of the time you're gonna be able to just blend it into the jersey like this with blending options on this layer. But play around with these options here, the blending options. But right now, I'm just gonna use this blend into this layer. And then from there, I'm gonna make it a smart object. I'm going to just position it where I think it's gonna be. Try to be as accurate as you can. I mean, it's not gonna be pinpoint accurate, like down to the percentile, but you can be pretty accurate with this. So just distort it a little bit or something like that. Make it fit to where it should be at. And then from there, it already looks pretty good. You could try and use your displacement map. So just go filter, distort, displace. And when you use displacement maps, you probably don't have to use too much on jerseys. Go to 2 and 2. And then I'm just going to click displacement, right? And it's just displacing it a little bit. You might not even have to use it, honestly. But this just adds a little bit of more realism to the piece when you use the displacement map. So something like that will definitely work, and then you do the same thing for the number. Never a bad idea to add a little bit of shade underneath the numbers, or even a little bit on top, just to get that jersey number to blend in a little bit more. You can just pick a dark color from here, or you could put a normal-ish color on multiply. It's up to you. Experiment, see what looks best, and yeah. Alright, so now we really have like the last part of the swap, and this is just going to be getting the side trim on the shorts. And for this, I was thinking about like how I'm going to do it, and I think the best way to approach this is to actually just use a side piece of somebody that I can just kind of make a selection and then put it onto the jersey or the shorts of the jersey, and just kind of try and fit the folds to make it just look accurate. So first thing we're going to do is just mask out just the side of this short right here. And it doesn't have to be anything like super like accurate or anything like that. Just on the edges is the only place you want to be really accurate with, because you don't want that excess crowd and lights things going on there. Look kind of weird. So just mask this out quickly. So once you have this into the scene, like I'm seeing that the green is already pretty accurate, pretty matched. Maybe a little bit darker just because. So maybe I'll use something like curves. Then I clip it too. If you want to clip something, you just right click and you can make a clipping mask, or you can use Alt and see that little diagram right there. You can just click that and it makes a clipping mask too. So there's two ways to do it. Then just try to match it just a little bit more. And then we're gonna go back into liquify. So filter, or first let's make it a smart object. Filter, liquify, and we're gonna go right back to how we were doing liquify before. LeBron, move these pieces and just start matching it. Something like that, simple. And then the last part of this is just gonna be masking out what goes over the top. So mask that out. Also gonna use my gradient map here just to get more greenish like that, and then just drop your opacity down, make a layer mask, and mask this out. Just take your time. Right here I'm adding a little bit of exposure, definitely on the part where it goes underneath. I want to have a lot of exposure because there's a bright shadow there, so be conscious of those types of things when you're doing swaps. And then for the edge lines, I'm just gonna blend those out, or blend along the edge and get that harsh line off of there. And then from here, you're just like playing around on your layer mask. See what looks good, see what doesn't. I take my time. I'm not rushing to get it finished or anything like that. Because in these final touches, you want to make sure everything's starting to come together smoothly and nicely. So now I'm gonna just finish this off by finding another piece that matches to LeBron, or matches the side stripe, and then from there we're just gonna add like the final touches on this jersey swap, and we'll be calling it a day after that. Alright, so now at this point I'm just adding in like little effects. Like I added in a slight drop shadow on really low opacity, and then I'm just going through and finishing up everything to make it look really clean and really cool, really nice. So yeah, once you guys hit this point, just go through and do whatever things you need to clean things up. So once I'm done and I checked everything and I was all set, I put everything in a group. So just put it in a group or anything that you want to do like that. And then from this group, we're going to go into camera raw filter. So the weird thing about this is that sometimes when you have a group and you try to make a smart object, it'll mess things up. So I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is make a new layer from everything visible. So I just have my transparent background on. So it's only going to be affecting LeBron James right here. So I'm going to press Control Shift Alt and E together, and this makes a new from visible. So now it's just LeBron on that layer right here. Okay, so this will be LeBron Finito, and then let's just go into camera raw and add a little bit of an effect. So in camera raw, just use your sliders however you want to use them. I don't have a set way that I use my sliders or anything like that. I just use my sliders how I want to, and I don't use too much of any one thing. I have a nice balance. I don't mess with any of the colors. I just mess with the actual mask, not the colors of the mask, but the actual aesthetics of the mask. So we're just adding a little bit of aesthetics on him, and then maybe sometimes I'll use a little bit of Topaz Labs. Maybe get some light pop here on low, apply it, you know, something light like that. Then we can bring the background up now right here, and then on the background we can just add curves manually, not even have to go into camera raw. Add a little bit of curves, match a little bit of the brightness there, something of that degree. So the last thing we're going to do is make the frame 4x5, and see, if I were to make it 4x5 like this, I'd be cutting off his head and all that type of stuff, and I don't want to do that. I want to keep everything in. So I'm going to downsize everything that's I want to have here. Just downsize it like this for now. Make sure it's a smart object so you can resize after. So downsize it just a little bit. Go 4x5. Now you can see I'll adjust it. Gonna have to play around a little bit. 4x5, boom, something like that, and just wait for it to render out. Now on the background, this is what I usually do. Just use my rectangle marquee tool right here, shortcuts M. Have the combined shapes on, go to Shift F5, content aware fill, and it fills just like that, right? You get a little bit more in depth and try to match this exactly, but that background is really looking fine to me. Then one other thing is just play around on your color lookups, see if you have any really nice color lookups that you want to use, or just keep it like pretty pretty normalized, or whatever you would call it. But just see a color lookup that you would like to use maybe, or just keep it similar or the same like I had said before. It's up to you. On my color lookups, I like to add curves to them and then adjust from there. I'm gonna drop a video pretty soon on using color lookups, because they are pretty important and they're pretty fun. I do have an older one, but I didn't have as much knowledge back then. But at this point, you're pretty much done, guys. So just add the things that you want to add here, or don't add the things, you can just keep it how it was normally, but just a little bit of texture and things like that with curves and camera raw. But thank you guys for tuning into this video. If this jersey swap tutorial helped you, let me know down below. There's a bunch of ways to do jersey swaps, but I feel like this was one of the better ones. So let me know if this helped down below, and what video do you want to see from me next. Until next time, guys, it's been Calsoscoped. Take care, y'all. I'm out. Stay scoped, share with a friend, share with your mother, your aunt, your uncle, and don't miss the next video where I will be doing